I understand. Never gonna give you up.
Hey, dude.
Never.
Got the last script here. I'm gonna need your help distributing it.
Oh.
So I've got Call of Duty needs. Actually, I'll take Call of Duty to JFresh, and then we've got Dead Space to Jen, and then Rhythm Tengoku. Just make Sharky do it.
All right.
So go tell them.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. Oh, thanks.
Oh, no problem. Jen.
Hey, Nelson.
Hey, this week's script for the One Up Show's done, and you got Dead Space.
Okay.
So I gotta get going. I'll talk to you later.
Wait. Dead Space?
Yeah, Dead Space.
I mean, I'm kind of like the queen of casual, you know, the princess of Wii.
Yeah, so I mean, Princess, Star Wars,
Whose call was
Space,
this? Who made this? Who made this decision? I just, it makes no sense to me. I mean, I'm perfectly happy to learn my lines, but I think that the viewers are gonna kind of wonder, like, why I'm talking about Dead Space.
You're stepping out of the box. This is a totally new direction for you, and I'm
What?
saving the day.
I just don't think it's gonna work. I'm gonna have to give it back to you. Sorry. Find someone else. I'm busy.
All right.
I have 2D games to play, Nelson.
Man, look over here. Look over here, you son of a bitch.
Hey, why are you looking like that with your fingers up in like a cult-like position?
I'm in full Dead Space getup. It looks exactly like the game.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it easy to see?
Very.
Okay.
Vegetative anomalies detected in the East Grove chamber.
So man, you love Dead Space.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
You love it.
Okay.
I also love it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
The only reason you're here is to argue with us. So
Nah,
let's get started.
I don't hate it. I'm just not quite as impressed.
I think you said desperately in need of a gimmick. Was that
No,
accurate?
not desperately. Just it needs a gimmick, and the anti-gravity stuff is not gimmick enough alone, I don't think.
You don't think it's enough of a gimmick or whatever you keep saying, but what did you think about actually playing it? Like, how do you think about it, or what do you think about how they handled it?
I think it works well. You just basically like aim where you want to go on another surface, and it's nice having like extra dimensions to go to within the geometry of the level. But it doesn't really. You're still like running away from bad guys and shooting them. It just kind of gives you one more angle of escape.
There's more to it than just the anti-gravity stuff. Like, there are more gimmicks in the game. You have to shoot off the tentacles of guys in order to kill them. That's kind of a gimmick. You have the kinesis that lets you throw things around.
You can't turn on the gravity until those boulders are cleared from the room. Maybe you can dump them into that gravity beam with your kinesis gun.
You have the stasis that lets you stop
games.
enemies.
All of those things are from other games. Like
I've never seen anything quite like the way the stasis works, where it's not like bullet. It's not.
Shit.
It's
I
not
know,
really
I know.
bullet time. It just slows the enemy
it's like
down.
it's like a very contained time stream. It's all cool, and it looks like it's the type of game that does a lot of things well and tries new ideas to a decent extent. There's just not one big hook, and for me, like the visual design, like it's fine, but it's not unique enough to like warrant that being why I want to play it, to like see how things look.
I'm kind of confused as to why this is a big issue with this game versus other games. Like you like Halo.
So it's Halo, I guess I know what I'm getting into with that at this point. Dead Space, I think a lot of people are really excited, and I guess I'm not sure why people are getting specifically excited about this game.
So for me, it's because it looks incredibly beautiful, and
If you're into like big space stations. Yes.
that's right. I am.
All right.
I like my grays
It
and
looks like there's
browns.
some variety to it beyond that too. And I mean, they said that it's like the way the ship is designed is based off of like Gothic architecture, which sounds different to me than a lot of other like sci-fi horror. Like it sounds different than like Doom 3 or something. The few areas I saw looked different enough. Like there's enough variety in them that I'm hopeful that the rest of the game is going to be that way.
There were some cool parts, like when we walked into that room and there's the big like Event Horizon style like meteor with things spinning around it, and then once you get onto that, you see the giant moon in the background. Like it looks nice, but it's just like it wasn't that distinct for me.
Entering vacuum.
We got to see the E3 area again, where you're going after these like pods, and you have like a sort of a big open level where you can go in any direction and hunt down these poison pods that are poisoning the air
I
supply
like how
of the
the
ship.
map worked. There's kind of a 3D map you can pull up that's like Metroid style, Metroid Prime style, but then they also had these kind of beams of light that like ripple through the like a little track in the ship, and that points you kind of towards the general direction of where you're supposed to be going.
What do you guys think about the HUD? They're really set on not taking you out of the action ever, or you're always in control. There's not really, like you said, Nick, you can pause the game, but there isn't actually a HUD at all.
You pull up your inventory like in front of you, the game doesn't pause while you're still moving and select things there. So that whole integration's that's nice. Again, in the comparison to Alone in the Dark, like the whole inventory system looking in your code was cool, but it wasn't really in the service of gameplay ultimately because you couldn't pause while you did it, and so then you were messing stuff up. So it's cool visually, but we didn't get much of a chance to like try it in a gameplay context during battles, and like you said, we had unlimited ammo, so we didn't go need to like mix up other stuff. But we'll see if that is an issue in the game or not. Hopefully not.
I wouldn't necessarily even call it a shooter because you're gonna have to like conserve ammo. So depending on how far they go with that, that could actually change the game quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that is important. If you had limited ammo, it would be a different situation.
Just the level of gore in it, though, I think horror fans are really going to appreciate because it is like very gory. One of the bloodiest games I think I've seen this generation, with the deaths at least that we saw. There were a lot of them, a lot of variety, and they always looked gruesome.
The enemies are also like very. There's like basically a baby with like little red tendrils, and then like 3 big red things that like shoot crap at you, and then you kill it, and it either like floats off or just turns into like this pile of twitchy goo.
How about the room where we got to turn off the gravity and all the body parts came flying down? That was my favorite part.
Cool.
Gravity restored. Access permitted to control room.
Why are
that
you
much
hung up on
a
like
visual
being a
thing.
gimmick so much?
Because there's so many good games coming out this fall, and like just having like, you know, if I'm playing like
another game like this coming out this fall.
I guess Resident Evil's next year.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm gonna be playing Little Big Planet. Why would I gonna care about Space Shooter X?
From what I've seen, it looks better than Space Shooter X would be. It's a type of game we don't see a lot of. Like there's Resident Evil 4, which is the same kind of control scheme. And yes, that game has done that. And there have been a couple other games, like Dark Sector is a little bit along that lines, but that's not really a horror game.
It is like Resident Evil 4, but there aren't a ton of games ripping that off, so I don't see that as a problem. Getting another Resident Evil 4-like game isn't a bad thing.
If it's good enough. And
Exactly.
To me, it seems like an execution game more than a gimmick game. Yes, the individual aspects are from other games, but put together, it's kind of a unique scenario.
I think that people need to have that as their expectation and not this like very brand new space shooter, because it is just a shooter in space.
I'm excited about it. I mean, I'm with
Yeah.
Matt. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the full version as soon as we possibly can.
Yay!
Hey Sharky. This week's one-up show script is done, so you got Rhythm Tengoku for the DS.
Rhythm Tengoku.
Yep.
What is Rhythm Tengoku?
It's like WarioWare to
Gives
music
a
type
hemorrhaging fuck about Rhythm Tengoku. I don't give a fuck about Rhythm Tengoku.
A lot of people give a fuck about
Show me one person that gives a shit about Rhythm Tengoku, and
Raise your hands.
I'll go down on it.
50%.
What is it that? What is it you want? In the depths of your ignorance, what is it that you want? Because I'm not seeing it.
Just looks like the script is a perfect fit for you, so.
I have not been for this.
Got the final notes on the Call of Duty script.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
Awesome.
check it out.
Sure.
Out of the way.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm not trying to be like critical or anything, but like, aren't there a lot of like, ums, and fucks in this?
Well, yeah, I mean
like a lot.
Well, yeah, dude, I want it to sound natural and shit, you know.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, really.
There's a lot of them in here.
Well, dude, look, Skip already has his version of the script. He's cool with it, so just read that and go with it, all right?
All right, hey, you're the boss, man. Okay.
Fucking right, I'm the boss.
Okay.
I don't know why I write this shit. What the fuck?
Fancy that. We're both playing Rhythm Tengoku.
Dude, I
Gold.
thought I was gonna get a perfect on this one too.
Yeah, you're not gonna get it perfect. Game's really difficult.
Dude, this game is a lot harder than the last one, I
Yes.
think.
I think it's partially the touchscreen. Yeah. Because it's kind of like you either hit it or you didn't on the old ones because you're just pressing a button. There's like, you know, there's 2 degrees of right, you did it or not. And now it's like a lot of games you just like touch, and a lot of games you like flick or like swipe the stylus and
there's even that one, and it's totally unique. It's the mating dance one where you just swipe back and forth. And that's the only one I know.
The little iguanas in the desert.
little
That
iguanas.
one's super cute.
Yeah.
You gotta show footage of that one. That one's awesome. So yeah, I got stuck more, and which made it kind of more frustrating because it's such a simple game that it's like what's there has to be like fun and accessible and not get hung up on it for too long. Just being able to basically progress through the game, like it's I think a little tougher than it needs to be.
Part of the reason why I did actually like the last one better is it was just a little bit easier, and I felt like that perfect run was always within reach.
There'll be times when I just like I screw it up and I don't know why. It's like I feel like I'm on beat and I'm like, fuck, there goes my whole perfect. I gotta do it again. And that didn't really happen in the older one. How did you like the games?
I thought they were great as far as variety goes, but I felt like another thing that added on to the difficulty is that none of them felt, well, some of them didn't feel as punctuated as the last version. Like, I always felt in the last version that things were on beat or on rhythm and that they were timed really, really well.
Right.
And in this one, things seem a little bit more mushy, like, and, you know, I'm not a musical person at all, so it's not like I can keep track
But
of,
you said you
this
like
is not-
perfected the previous game.
I
basically,
did,
right?
I did, and that's because it was perfectible to somebody who isn't musically inclined. Like, there was one on here that I was just like, it's the one where the guys like dance back and forth. So you're changing to the off beat, like back and forth, and I cannot fucking wrap my head around that at all. So I had to have Nelson actually play that one for me because he's an actual drummer and he understands music. One of my favorites actually was when it's a lot later in the game is they reprised the Kung Fu one. I kind of wish that they'd actually reprised a few more of the ones from the last one and like maybe added a little extra something onto it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have minded the entire last game in there and plus a bunch of new stuff. It's I can't imagine these take up much space.
Right, yeah.
And most of them to pass it, you have to like do really well. There's either like failing completely, passing, which is doing pretty well, and then like a almost perfect. There's not like a just kind of like, okay, we'll keep you moving along.
Right,
so.
exactly. And some of them are super strict too. It seems like some of them that they, I don't know, maybe they thought that this particular one was really easy, so we're only gonna let you miss one, and if you miss more than that, then fuck it, you don't get it.
Right. I felt like this one, like after the first like tier and a half, it gets better a little later in the game, but it does start to repeat itself for me quite a bit, and I thought more than the last one. Like there's several games in the original that I still totally remember, and now it's like outside of the like that little cute iguana one. There's not many that I think I will remember like a month from now.
I disagree with you a little bit on that. I think there are some more memorable ones in there after you've beaten the game, and it unlocks the harder difficulties. You know, you have the 6 rows of games that you can play, and which is already a greater variety than that was in the last one, because the last one started to repeat after the 3rd row, I think 3rd or 4th row. Then it was just harder versions of all those other ones. This one, the harder versions don't start until, you know, after you've completed all 6 rows of games, and those harder versions unlock, and then those harder rows will combine, you know, different ones into harder versions. So the remixes are actually a lot different.
Those I think are still the most fun, actually. Considering this is on the DS, I thought they kind of missed an opportunity. Like they're basically just mimicking one button or the slash like we talked about, whereas they could have done something cool with touching different parts of the screen or even the microphone. As much as I usually hate using it, I just feel like there's other stuff you can do with the DS, whereas this is just kind of like, well, you're holding it like a book.
Well, there's a little bit. Well, I think actually some of that might be because you're holding it like a book. So you know, you've got this here, and everything's happening on the left screen. The touch screen is only for putting your pen down. Nothing ever shows up there. So it's like, it made me wonder, you know, like, well, okay, it's oriented like this, but what if, you know, you had to switch it like this sometimes for mini games, and you had to use the buttons sometimes. Right. You know? It's like I don't really want more complicated mini games, but I think that would have opened it up for more variety.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot more unlockables in this one than in the last one, or at least it seems that way. You can unlock different toys, and you can unlock, you know, like a sound test thing and notes that I can't read because they're in Japanese. Like you go into the coffee break thing, and I've unlocked a couple notes, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I wonder if it says something interesting. Maybe it gives you a hint about the game. I don't even know what it is. Well, and the tutorials are still pretty effective though. So even though it is in Japanese, and we are playing Japanese, I didn't feel like I was really stuck on any of them.
But I just don't think it's quite as strong as the last one. And I'd say also if people are interested, wait a couple months to see if it's coming out here, because I'm sure it will be like not less of a headache learning the games in English.
Right, yeah, man, I really love it. I'm gonna go ahead and import a copy of it. You know, I'm playing our preview version, but I'm gonna go ahead and import a copy of it just because it's like, I still find it as addictive as the first one.
I might wait a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, I gotta keep going.
Good luck.
I'm still doing pretty good on this one.
Thank you very much.
So how do you want to start it?
You know what? I think we'll start with you, where you go with like how it's back to World War II.
Okay. Call of Duty World at War is a game by the Treyarch, and it's about the Japanese and the Russians in the game. And yeah, I don't know if I'm feeling this script.
What? You were getting to the best part. It has a revenge theme that is both gritty and brutal.
But wait. You should probably put a little more emphasis on that, you know, like... But wait, it has a revenge theme, you know? Like something like that.
Excited or like revenge?
You should try to do it in the voice of Kiefer Sutherland. How did you like that in the beginning? Like when you first are walking in, you guys are like landed in Peleliu Island, you're in that swamp, and he's your commander, and like he picks up the voice right away and starts talking.
I'm just wondering how long we're gonna have to trudge through this filthy shit.
Taking the flank gets us wet, but it won't get us killed. We regroup with the 5th when we're through this swamp. Now quit yapping and stay sharp.
Poor bastard must have been shot down this morning.
Miller?
We were only shown 2 scenes in this, the Japanese and Peleliu Island, and then the other front, which is Russia pushing towards Berlin towards the end of the war.
Yes.
Both of those scenes were pretty intense. It was very much like Call of Duty 4's intensity. I know a lot of people are like really super hesitant or even averse to knowing that Treyarch is doing this after Call of Duty 3. My first question was going to be, how do you guys feel when you see something on a message board or when you hear one of us say, oh, it's not Infinity Ward doing it? Maybe. Right. And before I even had a chance to ask that, they had an answer ready saying, this is the best game that we feel we've ever made so far.
Call of Duty 3, Treyarch only had a year to develop that game, where with World at War, they've actually had 2. And on top of that, they've had the Call of Duty 4 engine to work with, which is already a fantastic template for a first-person shooter.
And it shows, because when we picked it up, when we got to play it, it felt pretty much like Call of Duty 4. There were no real noticeable differences or shortcomings that I saw.
Your first encounter that you have with the Japanese when you're making your way through the swamp with your squad, it's an immediately different tactic than what you're used to in Call of Duty 4. You have these Japanese kamikaze sort of bonsai raiders that are hiding and using these guerrilla tactics to essentially, when you get close to them, jump out, and instead of all of them shooting at you, you actually have 2 or 3 guys who are just running at anybody with their bayonets out, basically just hoping to kill a couple of you guys before you take them out.
And then having the flamethrower as the new weapon is your way to deal with that. I was worried because I heard beforehand that the flamethrower didn't really affect the environment all that much.
Yes.
But we saw that it hit the trees, it hit the grass, and then we used it to storm the bunkers and clear out the bunkers. And I thought it was a really cool, very effective weapon.
I also noticed, like, when you're attacking the barracks, even like sandbags, wood, really anything that in real life could burn, you would see it.
Watching you guys play, I've noticed like a big improvement whereas, you know, the areas that you're in are just massive, you know, compared to Call of Duty 4 and earlier. There's like huge, rooms, huge rivers with foliage everywhere, excellent water.
I loved it when we first walked out into your first like open field on Peleliu Islands, and it's huge. You almost feel like you're in one of those Halo kind of environments where it feels like everything goes on forever. And you never really saw that in Call of Duty 4. When you jump down on the ledge on this huge field, you realize you're fighting like half a dozen tanks, and you've got almost 20 squad members, it feels like, with you, a couple tanks helping you out, and just this huge environment that you can run all around in with trenches and rocket launchers hidden.
Yeah, it was a massive tank battle, and that was one of the other things I was really concerned about coming in to see this game, was that could they keep up the quality of the set pieces and the intensity that was in 4 and the Infinity Ward ones. And based on just on the 2-on-2 scenes that we saw, the tank battle in Peleliu and then the street battle in Berlin,
beautiful.
They got it, I think,
Yeah.
just based on this.
The pacing, I felt, was really, really good. When you first started in Berlin and you're fighting through like these apartment buildings or whatever buildings that they are, it's all very, very close quarters combat. You get our first look at that double-barreled shotgun, which was a really, really fun gun to use. It's very claustrophobic, very tight, very dark, and then you kind of come out onto this street where this battle is already happening in this alleyway, and there's a storm going on.
And the music
is
just so incredibly intense. And it's not like the typical like World War II Call of Duty orchestral or sweeping. It's like rock. Industrial rock, and you're like, what the hell is going on? It's almost a bit too intense, like they're trying a bit too hard. But I'd rather have them err on that side than underwhelm with that.
One of the things that we saw too, that we actually played, was the co-op that's in single player, which I think is probably the best new addition that we're seeing to this game so far.
Agreed.
Not only does it have, is it 4-player?
4-player.
Single player co-op, which I think is great. It has competitive co-op, which I think is brilliant.
As soon as you saw like the +10 and the +50 show up from Call of Duty multiplayer, it's the same like psychological thing, like, oh man, I'm gonna get hooked on this, I think.
Yeah, we said both of us, like, one of the most brilliant things they did in Call of Duty 4 was that, you know, seeing the points rack up every time you see a kill, just getting that little visual reward is a huge thing. And now that they're going to have that not only in multiplayer, but in single player, where you're actually competing against another guy through the single player campaigns, I think that's going to add a ton of replay value to it and give a reason for people who are still playing Call of Duty 4 to want to play Call of Duty World at War.
Is there going to be like almost like an RPG element where those little meta games that you're playing with your buddies or whatever can lead to like weapon upgrades in the future?
Oh, yeah, they said that all the points that you get in co-op competitive single player will be applicable to the perks and stuff in multiplayer, so you can kind of train and get used to stuff and maybe earn perks before you jump in the online arena. But one of the main things that we're interested in is seeing what the new perks are going to be, because you're not going to have the radar, you're not going to have well, you might have airstrikes, but they're going to have to fudge it a bit, like, 'cause it's going to get slower. It's going to be slower to get those bombers in there. Yeah, hold tight.
You have to send it by Morse code or something. The only other thing this has to offer, and I think it might work in their benefit having it in World War II, is that the weapons are going to be completely different.
Different but familiar, because we've seen all these weapons, except for the flamethrower, and they said vehicles.
Yes, vehicles will be in multiplayer as well, which I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out and how those are going to control. I think that can kind of go either way, whether that's going to be good or bad.
One of the main concerns I have for this game is that, again, it's doing the multiple fronts, the multiple stories, doing the Japanese in the Pacific, and then the Russians storming towards Berlin towards the end of the war. Only this time, the connection between the two, we're not really sure what it is, but when we asked them, when we prodded a bit about it, very, very tenuous. Like, they're not even in the same time frames. There's going to be references to back and forth between them, but I'm just worried that it's just out of obligation that they're doing this thing, and it's going to be distracting from either way.
I really go back and forth. On the positive side, I really like that there's two different areas, like visually, being in the jungle in the Pacific and being like downtown in the area of Berlin that we saw was both like, they were very, very different. The enemies were different. They fought differently. And that was really refreshing knowing the game is going to have that kind of variety. But at the same time, it's like you said, like how much disconnect is there going to be? I mean, they're not even during the same time periods.
Right.
I really didn't have like very high expectations going into this. But seeing it running on the Call of Duty 4 engine, seeing it have the same controls as Call of Duty, but basically just making it more intense, adding 4-player co-op, and then larger environments with more enemies to fight.
Yeah, you know that they showed us like their best foot forward.
Yes.
So we saw probably 2 of the more intense scenes. If they can keep that up throughout the game with the proper pacing, then I'll be happy.
Definitely a foot in the right direction. For sure, for sure. We've kind of been goofing off here the whole time. We should really get back to the script if we want to shoot this segment. Right?
Yeah.
I know, but let's just like, we'll do a practice and then we'll have the guys come over and we'll be fine. All right.
Take it with flamethrowers.
Yeah, flamethrower. Okay, we're ready.
One more? Can you do that?
Was that good? Was that like
That
the...
was- all right, let's just roll
All right,
it.
let's just see what happens. Okay. The flamethrower looks awesome.
I agree. The trees and the grass and the fire and the guys in the bunkers are on fire.
I blew up a truck.
I also blew up a truck.
You did. It just says it right there in the thing.
He's
that
got
we're
the sniper
supposed
in the
to.
tree line.
It's ridiculous.
Do I have the latest version?
You both have the version.
You can't.
It should be good.
You know. One more time.
How many times?
One more skip. I swear to God. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I blew up a truck.
The truck was blown up.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? You're unbelievable. I try to work. I've been here all day working hard. You know what? Fuck it. We're doing it live. I'm done. Both of you. We're doing it live. Fuck it. This thing sucks.
I can't work like this.
All right, I don't know what to say. Let's just. I'll do the lines.
Can't work with me
I
either.
blew up a truck. I don't even fucking play the game.